Wuthering Waves needs to do this. Now you may be thinking, what do they need to do? Well, this video is going to tell you, I suppose. I have been doing my Wuthering Waves patch surveys every patch for a long time. And I have been putting these things in these patch surveys. But I've also got a bit more, and I think if Wuthering Waves does a lot of these things, maybe not all of them, but if they do a lot, then it should be really good. Because I think almost everybody can agree that these changes are objectively good for the game. Anyways, before we get into what I want them to do, ladies and gentlemen, it's sellout time. This video is sponsored by LD Shop. This super handy website is a safe and reliable way to get your top-ups, battle passes, and monthly cards for less. LD Shop covers lots of games like HSR, ZZZ, and of course, my favourite, Wuthering Waves. With these games, you can get guaranteed 5-star bundles and top-ups for a discounted price, meaning that you get more bang for your buck. To top up your Lunites, simply follow these instructions. First off, select your item, then click top up to proceed, apply your coupons and then select a payment method. Once you've paid, submit your game account details. Then the LD Shop team will handle the top up for you. Make sure not to log into the game during this process. Once the process is complete, they will log out and wipe all login records. And once that's done, you'll receive a notification. Make sure to log into your game afterwards to check if everything's there. And enjoy! If you're still unsure about privacy issues, you can always change your password afterwards for that extra peace of mind as well. And if you're an avid spender, you can bind your LD Shop account to your Wuthering Waves account for more convenient future purchases. For those who register using my link in the description, you'll receive a 15% off coupon with no minimum spend, and a cheeky 5% off bonus coupon from me as well, racking up total potential savings of $50. And for all the whales out there, if you spend $80 in a month, you can claim a free Lunite Subscription. Be sure to claim it on the homepage if you're eligible. Once again, if you're looking for a safe and reliable way to top up your account for less, use my link and use LD Shop. Now, back to your regular scheduled programming. First off, I would like to see Nightmare Nest refresh option. Obviously, we know that Nightmare Nests only refresh once a day. How about instead we spend stamina to refresh them? Simple as that, really. Simple change, and I feel like it will do the game a lot of good because obviously Jeez has just come out and I have had to spend many days trying to farm a good echo set for her because it came out with her. Or an alternative thing would be to have echoes pre-farmable. So basically, if you've got an echo set for a character, you release it the patch before the character releases. Sort of that pre-planning thing. I think Star Rail has this, where they release planar ornaments and relics before the characters come out, usually a patch in advance. It does help pre-farming, but yeah, one of those two. Next up, Nightmare Echoes into weekly boxes. Now we all know the weekly mode, Fantasies of 1,000 Gateways, and of course we get the Echo boxes, or rather the Tacit Field boxes that you get when you spend stamina. Now, these boxes do not include Nightmare Echoes. They just don't. Not only that, they don't include any of the 3-piece sets, which is what I'm actually trying to say. And this is a huge oversight because we have not had a box update since 2.4. So my suggestion is either you just put those echoes, like group them into Sonata sets, because we currently have 4 of these Nightmare Echo sets. Either do that, group them in, and then you can have sort of like quote-unquote Sonata set that you can select so you can open the boxes and you get one of those 2 echoes. Or you add a separate box for Nightmare Echoes and future Nightmare Echoes, maybe in like the final reward. So obviously you get the regular boxes as the first reward, and then the final reward will be the Nightmare Echo boxes. Maybe you can make them red, I don't know. And this also helps sort of streamline and future-proof Nightmare Echoes, because obviously if you add more 3-piece sets, then you can just put them into those boxes. If you add more Tacit Fields, you can put them into the other boxes. I think that's quite simple. Another Echo quality of life I'd like to see is Sonata set choosing on batch merging. Now, we all know batch merging is so frustrating because you can spend like 2,000 echoes and maybe only get 1 good echo after you've leveled them up. And this will help with that. Basically, you can choose a Sonata set, or at least maybe a minimum of 2, and it will basically hyper-focus those 2 Sonata sets rather than just giving you a plethora of things that are mostly useless, because when has batch merging ever been useful to me? I don't think ever. But yeah, that is all my Echo quality of life stuff. I feel like if they were to be all done, the Echoes would be a lot more fun to farm. And a lot just easier to farm as well, because obviously if we're going into 3.0 now, we need to start thinking about stuff like substat selectors and making echoes, you know, a bit better, just all in all, because the game's going to be out for 2 years in 3.2, so we kind of need to think about how to make this ecosystem easier. Now, on to something that I would really like to see from my perspective. It doesn't really help the game, or it's not really a quality of life, but it is a 3D team selection menu. Kinda similar to Honkai Star Rail, kinda similar to Genshin, where we just have 3D models maybe striking a pose. I mean, they could have the idle animations be playing while they're in the team, just something like that, right? It's only 3 slots, or just do live 2D cards. So basically, we only have static 2D cards, just do live 2D cards. Make the team selection menu a bit more fresh, especially if we're going to get more presets eventually. We'll want to start seeing it get more fresh. Character Flowers Early Access. Now, personally, this is my biggest problem with Wuthering Waves. When I want to get a character maxed out on day 1, it is the flowers that usually limit me. On release day, I usually end up being like 3 flowers short of getting the max resonator, and it does boil my blood. So what I would like to see is a simple teleport function, early access, stuff like that. Allows you to teleport into the area where the flowers are, but not explore outside of it if you want to sort of lock map exploration behind the story, because obviously you can't just go to the new map most of the time. That would be very, very handy. Simple one next is increase the weekly boss limit. So increase it from 3 to 5 so we can get, 5 sets of rewards rather than just 3. New endgame mode is a huge one. New endgame is so needed. Now, I have no idea what they can do. I feel like a boss rush would actually be quite cool. Kinda like Zenless Zone Zero's Deadly Assault, but in a speed form. So how quick can you kill however many bosses, and then it scores you on that maybe. Something like that. Kind of similar to Infinite Battle Simulation, but I'm sure they'll think of something else, so it isn't just that. I would like to see some sort of gimmicks with it as well, but not too gimmicky, because then it would just feel like an event rather than an end game, because it doesn't need to be permanent after all. Another thing I'd like to see, or rather like to see returning, is Depths of the Elusive Realm. Because, simply put, Fantasies of 1,000 Gateways is a shadow of what Depths of Elusive Realm is. Because I enjoy doing the progression right, tiering up the progression and getting collection rewards, getting Astrite for doing things with different resonators. I feel like they need to expand that, because Zenless has it, Duet Night Abyss now has it, obviously Star Rail has it, Genshin has it. Every single big gacha game has this sort of formula, but wuwa is lacking. I would love to see Depths of the Elusive Realm return with a huge expansion, and I'd like to see Fantasies of 1,000 Gateways basically reintegrated into Depths of the Elusive Realm as the weekly mode for it, if that makes sense. So basically, Divergent Universe from Honkai Star Rail. Now, we have reached the end of the sane suggestions, and now I'm going to do one insane one that I know will not happen for a little while. New element? Or weapon type, perhaps? Now, I actually have a few ideas. New element, of course, we have Havoc and Spectro, so that's basically your dark and light, and then you've got the OG elements like fire, ice, air, electric. We are missing a few, for example, maybe ground like earth, but then you've got Verena, who is Spectro, but she should be earth. It's a bit finicky when you're introducing one. However, I have got 2 that might actually be able to work, and I've gone with Astral and Void. Now, of course, they don't need to be added together, but of course, Astral could be focused on light attacks, like similar to Hard Light from Overwatch, sort of light-based damage. Obviously, we have Spectral already, but I'm saying Astral is more like Celestial, more starry. And of course, Void is the opposite of Astral. Void being dark, basically nothingness. Kind of like if you were to attack with a black hole. Obviously, it's up to Kuro Games to use these elements to create different kits, because I know sometimes, the kits aren't very reminiscent of the element. For example, we all thought that Augusta should have been Fusion because she was literally the sun, but no, it made sense that she was Electro in the end. But the weapon types, you could add a few weapons, but then obviously not as obvious as like a sword or a gun. What I've written down is maybe like a staff, like a maid sort of thing. Obviously, we do have that like Phoebe, but that's a rectifier. I feel like the game has been kind of limited by using rectifiers for like magic staffs, because obviously Phoebe should be a staff user. But I've also gone with like chakrams, you know, basically like bladed disc type things that you throw. They could be used in some way. These things that I suggested are very sort of raw, and they definitely are limited by what we have in Wuthering Waves at the minute, which is why I'm not a developer for Kuro Games, because I'm sure they would make it work. But yes, those are my suggestions for 3.0, including the insane one. What do you guys think? Is there anything else that I've missed? And I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye for now.